Hey dudes, I I think the last two videos I promised I wouldn't make any more videos until I had parts, but shapeways is taking a really long time. No longer than usual, but I guess maybe I'm just more excited than normal. So anyways, I thought I'd show you guys a couple of things for anyone who is interested. This is the three main parts of the differential that I wouldn't say designed. It's not like I came up with the idea of a ball differential, but more I made it fit this particular application. The main thing, I guess, that's kind of unique about this ball diff for the RC10, four-wheel drive RC10 project, is that the overall it's a pretty small diff. Like this section here is only I think there's a dimension right there, 0.265 from center to just inside here, so less than, probably, we'll say 0.6 inches in diameter, so just over half an inch, which isn't very big for the pulley, compared to some you might see, which would be maybe an inch to an inch and a quarter. So that's kind of unique for this, and also it's something that I'm not sure is going to work out. Again, all these parts have been ordered. I ordered I guess we'll call them the shafts or the out drives or whatever you want to call it, in aluminum, and probably I'll end up ordering those in steel, and now I see that Shapeways is offering stainless steel, but you know, just to see how things are going to line up. And actually, I don't know if you order parts from Shapeways, you might know this already, but the steel, the mild steel, I guess, and the stainless steel is cheaper than the aluminum, which is, I thought, well, they kind of hint that maybe their steel isn't very strong, so I've kind of been hesitant to order any parts in it, but I think for this I will. It even if it's kind of brittle, let's say, maybe it would wear better than this aluminum is going to. Okay, sorry. So again, these are the three main components. There will be, what is that, 8 balls. Those I got ceramic. I think I showed these before. Those are 0.1 or 0.098 inch ceramic balls. They'll go in there. Because this is such a tight space, some of the nicer discs would have room for a ball bearing here, which might go onto this like pilot shaft. In this case, this section right here is the part that will go just inside here. I'm just gonna pack it with a lot of grease, and we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm not gonna drive this hard. Hopefully I can just see if it's gonna work at all. We can go ahead and assemble this diff here. I can take this guy and slide it inside of this guy, or at least make the central axis, what would you call that, concentric? That's a tricky word. And I'm gonna slide these two apart because I need to flip them around. I hope this is all coming through. So now, what I wanna do is that there's gonna be a washer right here, a steel washer, which I think you would call a race in this case. So it won't be ceramic balls right on this aluminum surface. It'll be there's room for a steel washer here, which I just happen to have some that seem to be an appropriate size. So I'm going to make this surface with this surface, and I'm going to give myself an offset of 0.01 inches, because I'm going to have 0.01 inches on each side of the ball. That kind of, I know this is confusing, that sticks out. So it's a 0.098 inch ball, and this I guess, what would we call this? This thickness right here is 0.08. So there should be, you know, approximately 0.01 of the ball sticking out beyond this face on each side, right? Yeah, I know it's confusing. I mean, if you've messed around with a ball diff, you know what's going on here. And then so we'll do the same thing here. I'm more concerned with the materials that I've chosen than anything else, really. So we'll do the same thing. Sit there and we'll add a little offset. Okay, apply that. And now I need this. Now both, I guess, out drives or shafts or whatever, here and here, they're already lined up. And so now I need to mate those guys with this guy. So my CAD gets a little freaked out. And there you go. Sorry if that was confusing, but anyway, I just wanted you guys to see, like, the differential that I threw together wasn't just like some magic one-piece unit. It's actually 3 parts. Well, a lot more than that if you include the races and the balls. Now, bearings will go here and here in the gearbox, of course. Now, this is set up, I think, for a 3mm screw to go inside, and on the head end of that screw we'll have 2 washers, and between those 2 washers we'll have additional ceramic ball bearings. No, you can't see those, but these are 0.05 inch, so I should be able to jam quite a few of those. So the head of the screw can rotate freely when we tighten it up. And that, again, that's just like a traditional, pretty simple ball diff. There may be some weird stuff out there, but as far as I know, that's pretty much how they're all set up. And I was just thinking this morning, like, you know, dude, who came up with this shit? Like, I need to look up who was the inventor of the ball diff, because it's pretty incredible, really. Like, do you need a differential? No, probably not. But like, what kind of crazy hardcore drugs was someone on to come up with the differential? It's pretty freaking fascinating if you take a minute to think about it. So anyhow, that's the diff. And again, I think I mentioned the RC10 4-wheel drive will have this unit front and rear. They're identical. I wasn't sure if that was going to be able to happen or not, but there's plenty of room for this larger pulley, even though up front I'll only need this central bit. But okay, so we'll close that. I don't need to say that. Let's take a look at where the overall car is. And again, man, I'm really hoping that we'll have parts next week to start putting together. All right, so this is what I've modeled of the entire car so far. Probably the only things that really stand out since last time is that I've got the kind of the vertical or sidewalls of the chassis on. I've got the rear shock tower. The rear shock tower, well, that's a weird noise. Really the main difference there is that it's got a cutout section now. So the belt can come through it, which of course, right? And also I removed this box, this little thin-walled box region here, which traditionally would kind of give the throttle servo a nice place to chill out, or even the battery if you went with like a vertical battery orientation. You know, you could, like, I guess the standard setup when you had the mechanical speed controls, the speed control servo or throttle servo would be here, speed control in front of it, and the battery would sit this way. Or if you had an ESC, you could run the battery long ways and kind of utilize that little cup for one end of the battery. Anyway, so I didn't feel that like that was necessary here. Not to mention it was pretty thin wall by design, and I figured Shapeways was going to be giving me a hard time about that anyhow. Otherwise, this whole unit is really modeled directly. Oh, I should have just showed you guys this, but the lights are so bad. You got that little cup unit or little box. Wow, the lights are bad. Okay, so moving on. One thing I think I didn't have last time were these wheel, we'll call this the outer wheel piece, I don't know, hub, whatever you want to call it. There's an inside piece that bolts to, so I had to design these because I needed the wheel to accept Kyosho style hex. I think that's 12 millimeter hex. Yeah, you can't see that, it's in the dark. But this wheel has the same look as the standard wheel, and it will bolt to the inside piece or half, whatever you want to call it, but it does have a hex. It does have a place for a hex, so we can actually drive that wheel. This knuckle, you may recall from the first or from the last video that there was a pretty good gap between the upright here and the knuckle itself. I've scooted that all the way in, so close. In fact, there's like a little bit of a notch out so that can rotate, to try and narrow the wheels, because the way it was sitting, it was going to end up being a total of 0.4 inches wider on each side, so a total width, I guess, increase of 0.8 inches, or versus the standard, which was gonna look kind of silly. So I was able to shave off 0.15 inches by scooting these guys closer together. I could play with the offset of this wheel. We'll see how it sits, and if it still looks ridiculous, I may end up doing that. But I think overall the width of the I guess a wheel to wheel width on the front of this four-wheel drive car will increase by I believe a half an inch, or yeah, I believe a half an inch overall. But we'll see how it looks. I guess I could tell better if I went ahead and modeled the rear and put them on there. I think on the standard car, the front wheels are a little bit narrower than the rear, but it looks like it's definitely too wide here. But again, the screen is kind of weird, so when you rotate it like this, it doesn't appear to be quite as wide. So it's just a trick this monitor is playing on us. Okay, hold on. Man, dang, this video is going long. So yeah, knuckles are there. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you, one way I was able to do that was by realizing that I was gonna have to go to universals here instead of like the traditional dog bone, whatever unit. And I mean, that's to be expected, right? So that's one way I was able to save some of this, or eliminate some of that wasted space right there. You can see, I don't know if this guy was working correctly last time. Everything's able to move the way it should, both sides. What else did we add last time, or since last time? I did go ahead and model the little ball, in balls, whatever, man. Why do I, ball studs, let's call them ball studs. And the reason I did that is because I was concerned about clearance. I'm thinking like, well, yeah, everything's gonna fit, but you got to put all the pieces in here together before you realize stuff isn't gonna fit. And one thing I saw that I didn't realize before I watched my own video was right in here. I didn't see this, so you can see that suspension arm is gonna rub the shock tower, so I'm gonna have to deal with that. I don't know if I'll cut out some of this material from the suspension arm, or if I'll end up remodeling. I've already ordered the shock tower, so yeah, I'll have to address that ultimately, but it shouldn't be a showstopper. So one thing you can probably see right away is that this ball joint, or ball stud, where it sits, is not in a very convenient place for a universal to go through there. There's room, right? It can go through there, but when that suspension moves up a little bit, we're going to start rubbing the universal on that. And again, this will have a cup on it too, so it's even bigger than that. I think there's room for me to move this up and possibly out just a bit. Definitely up, so that'll have to be done. Unfortunately, I didn't leave any extra material up on top here for me to add a different mounting position to that, because I didn't think it was necessary, but I am glad that I ended up modeling these and adding them to the assembly, because I wouldn't have known that was going to be an issue otherwise. Sorry, this is almost over, and I know this is too long, but I've just been really excited to show you guys that this project is absolutely not dead yet. Spent way too much money for it to die yet. I went ahead and made a first attempt at a suspension setup, or no, steering bill crank setup. These guys slide under the front gearbox, so there's room there. Now you can see if I go too far, that ball would crash into the side. But what will happen first is that this guy would run into the side of the chassis right there where that cutout is. So you can see there's only room for it to go to about there. And you might notice as well that the wheels are actually turning, right? So it looks like the way it's sitting right now, I'm not going to have a tremendous amount of steering. I don't want to have to notch out the chassis. I don't want to have to change it from stock, but if it's too ridiculous, I may bring this on down a little bit. We'll wait till it's all assembled before I worry about having to modify anything. It's not all that different from the stock unit. The main thing is that I've moved, well, I don't have like a little traditional drag link here, but I've moved that drag link from forward of the vertical, I guess, whatever we want to call these guys. Traditionally, it would be forward of it, and now I'm back here behind it, and also it's a little lower, I guess. I've got clearance. You probably can't see it because all this stuff. I got clearance underneath the drag link for the belt, the lower belt, and then clearance, plenty of clearance above for the upper. They're the same belt, but this guy has plenty of clearance. I'm not gonna rub the side of the belt. It's pretty close, but it's so yeah, man. This stuff is all kind of falling into place. I swear this time I will not make any additional videos until I get some parts. Probably the main thing I want to do when I get parts is build those discs and see how that whether they look like they're going to be able to withstand a little test run or not, or if they even act like discs, right? If I put them all together and they're just seized up or too wobbly, then we're going to have a problem. But everything else here shown, aside from the, well, I didn't order parts that I'm not gonna have to modify in any way. So like, just because I drew a chassis doesn't mean I'm gonna order a chassis from Shapeways. This is all standard. But the only thing I haven't ordered yet is the rear shock tower, which I should. I mean, and then this whole steering assembly. I didn't want to go forward with that until I figure out if the gearbox and the drivetrain is going to work. But the rest of this stuff should be on its way within the next week or two. And yeah, man, I'm just really excited to show you guys how it comes out. If anybody's got any advice for me here, I'd really appreciate it. I imagine maybe you guys will have some once things start going together and we see how bad I screwed all this up. But yeah, man, I don't, since I was a kid, like I always had this like I don't know what you'd call it, like this is desire to kind of copy stuff. You know, like, yeah, maybe I couldn't afford a car, but maybe I could build one out of wood in the garage, whatever. And that's kind of what this is here. I'm not trying to fool anyone into thinking that I know what I'm doing here, because I don't. I recognize this is just really mimicking what I've seen years and years of, you know, after years and years of staring at what other people have designed. So again, yeah, I'm not trying to come off sounding like I know what the hell I'm talking about here, but I just really wanted to make a stab at this and see where it goes. So yeah, I will leave you guys alone until we get some plastic, and I'll see y'all next time. Take care of yourselves. All right.